Once upon a time, in the warmth of the summer sun, a duck sat on her nest, waiting patiently for her eggs to hatch. The nest was hidden in a dense patch of reeds near a tranquil pond, where the mother duck could protect her precious eggs from predators. After weeks of careful nurturing, the eggs began to crack open, one by one, revealing soft, fluffy ducklings. The mother duck was overjoyed as she welcomed each of her new children into the world. However, one egg, the largest of them all, had not yet hatched. The mother duck continued to sit on it, waiting for the last of her brood to emerge. Finally, the egg cracked open, but to the mother's surprise, the creature that emerged looked very different from the others. It was larger and more awkward, with gray, scraggly feathers instead of the soft yellow down of its siblings. The other ducklings gathered around their strange-looking brother, pecking at him curiously. "What an odd duckling," they quacked, laughing at his ungainly appearance. The mother duck was puzzled as well, but she loved all her children equally. She decided to take her brood to the pond for their first swim. As they waddled to the water's edge, the ugly duckling lagged behind, feeling out of place among his beautiful siblings. When they reached the pond, the ducklings eagerly jumped into the water, splashing about with joy. To everyone's surprise, the ugly duckling swam just as gracefully as the others, perhaps even better. Yet, despite his skill in the water, the other animals at the pond couldn't help but notice how different he looked. As the days passed, the ugly duckling's life became increasingly difficult. The other ducklings teased him relentlessly, and even the farm animals mocked him. "You're so ugly," they would say. "No one wants to be your friend." The ugly duckling felt lonely and rejected. He couldn't understand why he was so different and why no one could see past his appearance. Feeling heartbroken, the ugly duckling decided to leave the farm. He wandered far and wide, searching for a place where he might belong. Along the way, he encountered various birds and animals, but none would accept him because of his appearance. Winter arrived, and the ugly duckling found himself cold and hungry, struggling to survive. One day, he came across a flock of beautiful white swans gliding gracefully across a lake. The ugly duckling was captivated by their elegance and beauty. He had never seen such magnificent creatures before. He longed to be like them but felt more ashamed of his appearance than ever. As the days grew colder, the ugly duckling took shelter in a nearby cave, where he spent the harsh winter alone. He endured the bitter cold and hunger, dreaming of a life where he could be accepted and loved. Finally, spring arrived, bringing warmth and new life to the world. The ugly duckling emerged from his hiding place, feeling a strange sense of hope. He wandered back to the lake where he had seen the swans, unable to resist the urge to see them again. As he approached the water's edge, the ugly duckling was shocked by his reflection in the clear water. He could hardly believe his eyes. His feathers had turned pure white, and his body had grown sleek and graceful. He was no longer an ugly duckling but a beautiful swan. The other swans noticed him and swam over to greet him. They welcomed him into their flock with open wings, recognizing him as one of their own. The ugly duckling, now a magnificent swan, finally found the acceptance and love he had longed for all his life. He realized that he had never been a duckling at all, but a swan all along. The swan learned that true beauty comes from within, and that sometimes it takes time for others to see it. The swan lived happily with his new family, gliding gracefully across the water, finally at peace with who he was. And so, the once ugly duckling, who had endured so much pain and loneliness, found his place in the world, not as a duckling, but as the beautiful swan he was always meant to be.